All right, cool. So good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Win City Investors Club Tuesday Talk Series, the no holds barred, no bullshit show where we bring a real estate investor on board and we pick their brains for the next hour to see what makes them successful and where we have to move in our business so we can be the same. So today I have the pleasure and the honor of bringing on Mary Anne Gillespie, the CEO of Red Apple Coaching. She's the one that kicks my ass every morning to be the best version of myself. She's the one that reminds me that I'm a small crumb in this huge, huge universe. She's also the one who tells me to pick my ass off the floor when I fail, but it's okay, and let's go again. She is my coach, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Anne Gillespie. Welcome, Mary Anne.
Well, thank you so much. I love it. And he's not lying. I like to kick his ass. All right. So that's what I do for a living. I love it. Well, thank you for having me. And I think one of the things we're going to talk about today, guys, is to give you the most values. I wanted to talk about why some people, and they look around, they go, why is that person more successful than me? Why are they doing something like, let's say, investing in real estate? Great example. You know, quite often we have people and you'll be in a meeting or a room or you'll be at an investor event and you'll see all these people around and you'll be like, I don't understand. How is that person doing what they're doing? They're no different than me. Maybe you have a better job than them. Maybe you have a better financial situation with them. And yet you talk to them and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, they have like 16 investment properties and you're only at one. And you're going, I don't understand. What am I doing wrong? And that's really something that, you know, it's a question that comes up all the time. I must get at least 20 to 30 emails on a weekly basis from people asking that question. So I'd like to dive into the topic of discipline today. And because really that's what it comes down to, is the discipline in anything of what makes a person successful or not. It's not brains, it's not bronze, it's discipline.
Yeah. No, that's exactly, you know, what I wanted to bring you on here, Mary, because you know, we've talked about this as well. I'm big in social media. You know, I'm not only doing stuff on social media, but I'm actually following people, you know, the ones who are doing shit on social media. And, you know, you have those characters, they hit I've hit my goals for 2020 and it's 6 months in, you know, number 20 for 20 and 20. And I'm like, what the hell are these guys talking about, right? I'm working my butt off here and I'm nowhere close. And sometimes it's a bit demotivating, right? So when you see these other people showing the success and whatnot, it's a bit demotivating for you who's doing the work, who's making a lot of effort. And, you know, you come to the point of like, okay, what am I doing wrong, right? And
100%.
So before we jump into it, I just want to let the audience know, you know, you're an NLP practitioner, you know, you're a certified DISC coach, you're an EQ coach, you know, you got this whole list of qualifications.
Yeah, background in neurosciences, all the geeky stuff. Yeah.
Right,
and
right.
a hell of a salesperson.
Yeah, so you're not only a student of the stuff, you're an expert. You know, you teach the stuff, right? So I just want to make this conversation about, okay, it's just about mindset, and you know, you gotta believe it, and that's what happened, right? Let's dig in deep, and if you can get into the neuroscience of it, what happens up here that stops us from actually progressing? I would really love that.
Absolutely. And you know, like, let's start off by saying is that what ends up happening, guys, is that our programming is what really gets us to where we are right now. So it's the consistent programming. And I want you to think about the brain in two parts. This is going to be the only real geeky thing that I want to kind of explain to you guys. Think of the brain as conscious and unconscious. So I always refer to it, and that's not how it sits in the brain, but it's an easy way to do it. So you have your conscious part of your brain and unconscious is at the back. What happens is that if you see something enough in the conscious part of the brain and something happens repeatedly, it will actually program your unconscious part of the brain. And one of the things that really happens quite a bit, which I look at all the time, is if you are programming habitual, conscious to unconscious, that means you've done something enough times or said something enough times or seen something enough times that the back part of your brain is basically not even thinking about it. It's your programming. Okay, and this does play into discipline in a second, but I'm going to give you a difference of when it comes to, let's say, Starbucks. This is a great example. If you want to look at scarcity mindset versus abundance, it's a programming. So that means, you know what, you're not born, like there's not little baby A and baby B, and baby A says, okay, Savio is baby A, and Savio is born with an abundance mindset, and I'm baby B, and I'm born with a scarcity mindset. It doesn't work that way. We're born with a brain. It's an organ, and the parts of our brain, the unconscious and the conscious part of the brain, conscious, unconscious, the unconscious and conscious part of the brain has to have something happen enough times that Savio would become abundant thinker and I would be a scarcity thinker. So it's how we see things over and over and over again, and the thoughts that run through our head. So in an example like Starbucks, there's a great drink. It's called a coconut milk latte, and it's super delicious. It's great. It's low cal, it's low fat, and it tastes just as good as a fat drink. It's awesome. But here's the thing. A lot of people would be driving by Starbucks and they're going to go, man, I'd like one of those. Or today's 30 something degrees. I think it's like 400 degrees in Canada. So anyway, we're not used to it. Sabio and I are like wearing long sleeves, but that's because like we're dying. Anyway, we would rather be in bathing suits right now. So anyway, the point is that if you're driving by and you're like, man, I'd love a Starbucks latte on ice, and then you go, but it's like $7, man. I'm not paying $7 for a Starbucks latte. What happens is that is actually a scarcity mindset. So that person, how do you expect to invest in real estate if in your head, the little thought that went through is you want something, it's too expensive, not going to get it. Okay, you can afford $7. That's the truth. You can. That's the reality. It wouldn't even cross your head if you couldn't. So you're thinking you want it, you don't decide not to have it, and in your head you keep repeating, too much, too expensive, I want something, not going to get it. That will translate. That's a programming thing. What your brain doesn't know the difference between, is this a business decision? Is this just a personal decision? So what ends up happening is you think of scarcity. So that's how easy it is to program scarcity. If you want to take that same scenario and think abundance, then what you want to do is you want to be like, I'd really like a Starbucks latte on ice. It's $7. I can totally afford it. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn how to make one, buy the little packages. I'm going to make them for $3, and I'm going to take the remaining $4 and I'm going to put it in my investment. I'm just going to keep looking at it as a cost, value approach, and then I'm going to do it that way. That's the difference of what goes on in your head. It's that easy. You want to take that thought about, gosh, I really want that, but it's $7, can't afford it, don't want it, I'm not going to pay that. You don't want to do that because that's programming scarcity, and it's as easy as that. So when you see people who want these big investment portfolios, or they're like, gosh, I really want that. You know what? You got to look at your programming. How long have you actually been programming your brain to think in scarcity versus abundance? Are you holding back? Are you the person who is always saying, you know what, that's too much, or it's too expensive, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to invest in that? You know what? That translates to bigger things in the business world and the investment world as well. So scarcity versus abundance.
Can I be a little bit controversial over here?
Let's do it, man.
When you're a newbie in real estate investing, or maybe you're young, and you're just starting off into it, you read these books. I'm not going to quote them because I'm having a brain fart here, but a lot of them talk about frugality, right? You got to be frugal. Save as much as you can. Don't spend that money on that Starbucks coffee. Put it in the bank, and save it for your investment. House hack, right, where you can live for free and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit different from what you're saying, because you're saying that, okay, the abundance mindset is go and get that Starbucks, or go and get an alternative that may not cost as much as a Starbucks, and then bank the rest. I like that idea better than just going and getting that Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
How do you, as a newbie investor or somebody who's just starting off who's listening to this, how do you get over that teaching that mama always said, save some money, don't waste it on nice things yet, right? Because that unfortunately breeds that habit, as you were just talking about, right? And then it's very, very hard to change that.
It does. So I look at my accountant. He's a great example of that. He went through my books, and this is a few years ago, and he called me up. He says, we got a problem here. And I said, what's that? He goes, I'm doing the books for 2 of the companies you own. I didn't realize you own a third company. And I'm like, I don't own a third company. At the time I didn't. Now I do. But I was like, I don't own a third company. He goes, I'm pretty sure you own the Starbucks, because I have never seen so much. He's like, Starbucks, like obscene. And I said, well, I mean, I don't, but I don't even look at it. It's an auto reload. And I'm like, I don't even pay attention. I'm buying Starbucks for the whole world pretty much all the time. And he says to me, yeah, he's like, I'm going to just give you some advice. And if those of you who are truly wondering how much, it was in the thousands per month. Okay. So it wasn't just $100 here and there. Yeah. I like to buy Starbucks for everybody. I literally looked like I owned it. So anyway, so we had a great conversation, and what I decided is I did a little bit of research, and I said, you know what, I'm going to buy an espresso, better coffee, better quality. I can make anything with it, and man, it's damn good. And I was like, if I invest in this, what's my return? And so I did a budget for it, and I said, holy smokes, I'm literally going to save probably about $1,000 a month, and I can take that. And it wasn't about saving the 1,000 and going, oh yeah, I'm going to spend it on something else. It was about taking that 1,000 and going, what can I reinvest that 1,000 into? So it wasn't that I didn't have the money to do that. It was all about, let's do a spreadsheet. Let's look at the profit and loss. Let's treat this as a business and look at it that way. So I like that the books do that, but I also can tell you that the dumbest thing I've ever done was save money and not invest it. And I did that, I was on my own since a young age, and that was the dumbest thing I ever did because it got me nothing. The interest rates were low. It was terrible. The returns are horrible. So to be honest with you, I'm an abundance thinker. I'm like, in my head, I know everything I want. I write my goals out. I invest. And you know what? I just never want to program my brain into thinking, be frugal, be frugal, be frugal, because that is creating a scarcity mindset. So whatever the books are, their background is in neuroscience. Their background is really to talk to people in those investment books that have a really hard time with their debt service ratio, and they're trying to teach you to save, 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 and really realistically think abundance and look at alternatives and don't hold back. Think abundance. If I do this, what am I getting in return? That's the better way to program your brain if you have to do it that way.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Before we continue, Mary Anne, so guys, if you're following on Facebook Live here, we have an expert in the room. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about, how you should be thinking before you even get your feet on the street and find that deal and so on and so forth. If you got any questions for Mary Anne, she's not cheap. So here's your chance. She's free right now. Ask your questions. Get it out.
Feel free to ask them away.
We can
I can't see them, but Savio, I can't see them, but Savio, if anybody has any, feel free to shoot them away.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm checking. Okay, let's get into it. There's guys who are hitting their targets before the year is halfway done. What am I doing wrong, Mary Anne? What's going on here?
Okay, so the first thing you're doing wrong is you're missing your targets. No, I'm kidding. So here's the thing. The brain loves routine. Okay, so we're going to talk about discipline. Discipline is what gives you freedom. So discipline with your money, discipline with, investing, discipline with your goals. Being disciplined actually equals freedom. Everybody knows it equals freedom. The hard thing is like when we work with people, we can take somebody who has made, let's say, just a couple $1,000s. We have one coaching client that made $200,000 a year. We've taken them to $2 million in just a year and a half. So we can do some pretty crazy things. And when I chunked it all down, I was like, it's not that my clients who do that are smarter. They don't have more money than other people. They don't come from privilege. They don't have all that stuff. Most of our clients are ground up clients, which are amazing. And we love the journey with them. The biggest thing that we notice is that it's discipline. So the first thing is the brain works in micros and macros. It loves, loves, loves routine. Okay. So the more of a routine you have, okay, it wants, think of the brain. It wants things to be easy. And the more routine you give something, the better it is. So if you're looking at somebody who, again, if your routine is that if you don't have a routine about building your business, building your portfolio, some kind of routine where you're like, every week I'm going to sit down on a Friday and I'm going to review this and I'm going to invest in that, or I'm going to make that decision. It wants a routine. So create the routine, stick with a routine, no matter what it is. If you want to, get better at investing, excellent. How many times every single week you should be like, okay, every Thursday I'm going to interview a top investor. Keep with that routine. It's very much a routine. And so again, if you're building a business too, you want to have consistency and a routine behind it. The other thing you want to do is you want to stop padding numbers and lying. And what I mean by that is discipline behind that. So many people come back and they go, I'm saving XYZ money, or I know I have XYZ credit card debt. They lie about it. They don't tell the truth. And it's like, look, if your biggest thing that's holding you back is you have a big debt sitting here and you want to pay it off, you don't have to lie about it. You know what? Just tack it and say, okay, I'm going to create a routine. I'm going to keep consistent. And this is my plan to pay it down. This is what I need to get done. And every Friday, I'm going to put $500, $400, or whatever. I'm going to pay it down, and I'm not going to switch from it. But a lot of people don't confront the reality of what their situation looks like and then have a routine or a plan to actually get that done. So when you confront your reality, that's a bigger one. So, and that makes it really important. You have to look at your daily choices too. So daily choices have a huge amount of effectiveness on the brain. So if you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, because that's how you program your brain, morning brain routines, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but morning brain routines that say, let's go. This is what I want to have in my life. So if you have the discipline, for example, tons of our clients right now, even though they're business clients, tons of our clients are suffering from overeating, over drinking, over partying, over laziness. Like, it's everywhere. We're seeing it. So even though they're our business clients, we're having these discussions, and I'm saying, look, you need to know every single day you've got to have a routine that you wake up and it tells your brain, let's go. What is that routine? If you want to lose 20 pounds, it's very simple. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, work out for an hour. Simple as that. Change your eating habits. Do your meal prep on a Sunday. Create the routine, but more importantly, when you're in the morning, have a routine that gets you to get up and go, let's go, okay? The other thing you want to do is you want to focus on things that matter. Okay, if you're like, let's look at the clientele or the people who are going to be looking at this. If you want to build a massive, massive investment business or personal investments and whatnot, you know what? You have to do the stuff that matters. What is the first thing? Sorry, just something came across. What is the first thing that you want to do? What is that? How do we want to do it? You know, that's the number one thing. So if you're focusing on the work that matters, that raises a priority up to here. Okay, so that means don't focus on anything else. If you're looking at investing, go in Windsor, let's say, go and focus on doing your Windsor research. Is that the work that matters today? Or did you go off on a tangent and have a monkey brain and you went all over the place? Have the discipline to be like, have you done your worksheets for Windsor right now? Have you looked at the research? Have you spoken to a realtor? Have you spoken to an investor there? Do the stuff that matters. Stop focusing on the minutia. There's so much other little things that you could be like, what happens if I get an investment? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's so hard though, right? Because you want those little wins, right? And a lot of the stuff that you focus on, it's a long-term game, right? So you want to get, 5 properties by the end of the year. That's not happening overnight. But if I got to sit down one day and do some accounting, for example, for my business, right? That's a win. Or if I just go look at properties, that's probably another win, right? I feel good about it. It makes me feel good. Psychologically, it says that I did work. And I think a lot of time we're doing busy work, as you're saying, versus the stuff that is important. How do we
it has to matter.
Break free from that? Yeah.
Okay. It has to matter. And it's like, and that's the thing that kills me is like, if you're looking at investing in Windsor, let's say, you know what, like you said, like if you have to do X, Y, Z and work on your books, that's fine. Get that done if that's what matters. But what doesn't matter is going, well, what if I get a place, like what about duplexing it legally? Maybe I should do some research on that for 3 weeks. You don't need to do that. Do the work that matters in the moment. That's what discipline is all about. It's about focusing today on what do I need to do to get to where I want to be, and it's step by step. There's a great book called Eat the Frog. And I like that book. It's like really, honestly, children everywhere should just that should be their bedtime story. Every day I would read that to them. I'd be like, eat the frog, man, eat the frog. If I had kids, I'd be like, the only words I would want out of their mouth before they could, as they spoke would be, hey mom, yes, eat the frog, high five. That's awesome. That would be like my dream kid right there. So anyway, eat the frog means pretty much just you want to tackle the hardest stuff at the beginning of the day that are really going to move you towards your goals. Everything else for the rest of the day doesn't matter. Okay, it's all the minutia that you can fill up with. But if my goal is to invest in Windsor, I'm not going to waste my time on anything that is not moving me towards my goal first thing in the morning. I want to get that done. I want to have a list. I want to create it, and I want to go move forward to it, because that's what happens is we go in this cycle, and it's like we spend all our time finding reasons and analysis paralysis. I think I'm going to go in a circle. I'm going to figure this out. I need the answer to that before I do this. Listen, the how always comes. You just have to put the foot forward with that. So that's it. Eat the frog, man. Hard stuff first. Super important. Really interesting tip is if you write down, so the way the subconscious of your brain works, and I was explaining that earlier. So you have the conscious and the subconscious. If you write your investment goals the night before, it's going to sound crazy, but it's totally true. The brain doesn't sleep. It's an organ. That makes no sense at all. If the brain shuts down when you're sleeping, we'd be dead. We'd be dead. That's just how it goes, okay? So unfortunately, that's not a good scenario. So the brain actually works when you're sleeping. So if you want a little cute trick, what you can do is if you have investment goals that you want to accomplish, write them down the night before, whatever you want. Like whether it's, buying your next property, whether it's I'm going to find, a beautiful house tomorrow that I'm going to invest in. I'm going to find a venture partner. I'm going to whatever. Write the goal down, read it before you go to bed, and then just let that be your final thought before you go to bed. If you ever want to know how the brain works, it starts to subconsciously work for you. And that's how the brain works. So that's what you call epiphanies, law of attraction, the book, The Secret. That's how it all works. And if you think it's not true, it's true. The brain listens, it waits for what you want to attract, and it has this thing called the reticular activation system, and it really just spits it all out there. And so whatever you want to accomplish. So if I go to bed tonight, and let's say I want to run a 5K tomorrow morning, no problem. I write it down on a piece of paper and I go 5K, we'll run it, we'll crush it. Tomorrow morning, leaving the house at 6 a.m., crushing it, 5K. Read it, put it aside, go to bed, wake up. The brain will be wired, ready to go. While you're sleeping, it'll start to put the dots together. You'll feel like $1 million and you'll be like, this is weird. I feel like running a 5K. So it works for you. And you have to understand that. And that's the difference between like these guys who got 20, 30, 40 properties by the time they're 25 years old. They go to bed, man, and they're writing goals and this, that, and they're like doing it in bed at like, and then they're going to sleep. They wake up. They're powerful the next morning.
And that's why they do it so quick, apparently. So the question is, those goals that we're writing every the night before, are we doing that every night till we accomplish those goals and then we move on to the next one? Or is it different goals every night?
You can write different, you can do either way. The brain is not that complex. Remember what I said. So the more you do something or see something or write something, the more the conscious part of your brain says, this is something that I want to remember, a habitual, and it'll just go to the back and it'll remember it always. So if you do it for 3, 4, 5 nights in a row, the same goal, it's already in there. I lost a lot of weight and started becoming an Ironman and triathlete and stuff. Every single day, I wrote down a milestone that I wanted to hit every day. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is my milestone for the day. Boom. Tomorrow I'm going to drink water. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to burn these calories. I'm going to fill up my tracker. And I'd have this big list. And I'd wake up the next day and I'd just do it. And you know what? The brain loved it. It loves the routine. It knew what it wanted to do. So you can do long-term or you can do short-term. The point is that you just have to have it in writing, see it before you go to bed, and allow your brain to connect all the dots for you. It works.
That's the first time I hear that story of your journey, because you've told this journey to our group before, and everybody's in awe of that journey. But I just thought you were a hard-ass, focused, and I'm going to do it. I don't care, what anybody says. But this is the first time I'm hearing you say that you actually had a list. You had a goal list that you were doing every night. So okay.
Every night.
That is the secret.
Every night. Well, the secret is that it's not the knowledge. Knowledge is never a problem. Whether it's business or whether it's fitness or whether it's lifestyle, knowledge is never the issue. So you don't need to read more books. You don't need to learn more stuff. You don't need that. There's knowledge everywhere waiting for you. Discipline is the issue. So what we're really looking at is saying knowledge, don't need it. Okay. You're giving it to your brain. Your brain has we're not 20 years old. Okay. So the brain has all this knowledge sitting around up there, just percolating and waiting. I mean, all the TV, the movies, the books we've read in the past, it's all up there, man. The seminars we've been to that we couldn't remember. And we're like, but it's there. So you don't need to worry about knowledge. What you're doing when you go to bed is you're finding discipline to say, this is what I freaking want in my life. I don't know. Like I said to somebody today, I was like, I went and I bought 2 years ago, Mattamy Homes called me and they said, I think it was about 2 years ago. And they said, we had a few deals fall through. Do you want to pick up a few units? And they're the 3-story garden homes, freehold, and they had no backyard. And they're like, pick them up if you want them. And I'm like, I'll take them. Done. You're going to die when you hear this. They were $280,000 each. Okay. So they're about $280 and 2 bedrooms. Rent is amazing on them. They rent for about $1,800. Anyway, so good cash flow, whole 9 yards. I said, I'll pick them up. Who cares? It was perfect. And so they got appraised today because a bunch of them sold in the area. They're all at $440,000 now. $440,000. You know what? Yeah. But here's the thing. every night, okay, this is the interesting thing. I didn't need to learn anything more. Every night I put through my head for about 2 to 3 weeks before that, because the investment properties are hard to find. And I said, you know what? Every night I was like, I'm going to attract the best investment properties in the next 30 days. I'm going to attract them. Out of nowhere, I get the phone call that happens. So you kind of look at things like that and you say to yourself, like, that's crazy when you think of that. But we have everything in our head. We have the knowledge. We have the ability to track things. We have the ability to see opportunities. That's the other thing you have to remember, is that investment real estate, if you're not programming yourself to attract things, it's equally as hard if you're not writing it down. When you go to bed, your brain will think, okay, I got to find those opportunities. So it's kind of like there is no coincidence. So when you want something, you know, let's say you're a single guy and you're watching this and you're like, man, I need to find a woman. Okay, great. Or a man, whatever floats your boat. Anyway, the point is if you write it down in the evening, okay, or a pet, who knows? Anyway, so if you're like, I want to find a companion, there's the right thing. If you do that every night and you do that, you're going to attract it. You're going to. It's the law of attraction. It's there. The brain will start looking for it. That's what it's designed to do. It's very powerful. We just don't use it effectively. So it's never knowledge.
In your opinion, the ones who are shown to be the most successful ones are doing this. They are attracting. They're not going. It's coming to them. We always say, you know, there's a saying in real estate investing: if the deal is right, you know, it'll come to you. You'll find an investor, right? And it's a theoretical thing, and people's like, okay, but does that really work? But if I hear you correctly, they're actually attracting the investor by saying the deal is right. They're not looking for excuses why the deal is right or why the deal is wrong, which I think a lot of people do when they look at a deal. They say, oh, I don't know, I got to put so much money into this, or, you know, the market is not right, or the market is going to tank, you know, and they make these excuses in their head to say that, okay, this is the reason why I should not go for that deal. When in fact, that sets a habit, as you mentioned before, you know, of scarcity, to say, okay, you know, I'm not going to get into this because there's all these reasons behind it, right? Versus, you know, you getting that phone call and saying, it's not the most ideal properties, but it came on your lap and it turned out to be successful. So
it turned out great. And the other thing you have to remember too is, like, yourself, even Savio, if you really look at what you've done and where you've gone, even with the United States, and I'm not going to go into details about that, but even when we were talking and you were like, this, you know, maybe I'll just forget about the United States because of everything that we were talking about that. And I was like, Savio, just hold on a second. You know, what do you want to happen? And you're like, I want to complete these projects. Great. It seemed impossible at the time, but you said it out loud, you put the thought into your head, and miraculously, within about 60 days, less than that, 30 days, poof, the really amazing outcome is that you put it out there, you changed your thinking on it, you went from scarcity, jumped into abundance, and the universe said, here you go. Thank you. And it's the rest is history. That's happened to you like maybe 3 times that I can recount. And I'm going, it's all about your mindset. You wake up one day and you're like, what happened? I got this, I got that now. I got investment properties coming all over the place. It's really just about programming your head. There's a lot of theories behind that work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's jump on. Let me just quickly look at our group here. If there's any questions. Just a couple of comments. People are talking about, comparisons sometimes get me demotivated.
What's that?
Comparisons sometimes get me demotivated. So when they look and see online, you know, that these other people are so successful, you know, they get demotivated, right? How do you get out of that?
So that is so common in everything. There's a million studies out there that show that if you're here and you're looking at, like, so for example, I'm a coach, okay? And our company is really successful, but we are not Tony Robbins successful. There's no doubt about that. I'm not 8 foot tall. I don't yell at people like that. And I have no desire. But if I was looking and I was comparing myself to Tony Robbins, there is every study in the universe that shows that the brain will work opposite and it will demotivate you. So whoever wrote that, totally normal. Your brain will demotivate you if your comparison is way too high. Okay, you can't do that. You have to look. If you have one investment property and you're comparing yourself to somebody who has 40, then you are absolutely right. That should demotivate you. You are absolutely psycho if that's motivating. It isn't motivating. It's inspiring to be like, hey, great story, but you shouldn't be doing that. If you've got one investment property, then you should be comparing and really talking and working with people who have maybe 5. And that should be where you're like, it's not too far out of your reach, because the brain doesn't like things that are really hard to do. It's lazy. It is lazy. That's why it has those 2 parts. So the truth is when I was losing, I lost over 100 pounds. If I hung pictures all over the place and I kept comparing myself to Betty, who has a metabolism that is like amazing, and she eats everything bad, and she looks like a model, then how is that motivating for me? I'm never going to be Betty, because you know what? Betty is totally different than me. But if I'm looking at somebody and I had 100 pounds to lose, I'm not looking at the person who has already lost 100 pounds. I'm looking at the person who is losing 100 pounds, but they're at the 20-pound milestone. That's the person I want to be looking to. That's the person I want to be talking to and having discussions with. That's the most critical thing. Okay.
Yeah,
so in my own opinion, that's, it should demotivate you when you're comparing yourself to people who are significantly higher than you. Set a better milestone. If I'm looking to run, think about it. If I'm looking to run a marathon, actually, if I'm looking to run a mile, the worst person for me to be motivated by would be Usain Bolt. The guy can run, like, literally, I wouldn't even be 2 feet next to him. So I was in the pool. This is a true story. We went into the pool for the first time on Monday. And their pool, the way it is now, is we used to have teams of like 30 people in the pool. We can't anymore because of COVID. So there's only 7 of us. And so the way they did the pool is they separated into 2 sections, and that's safer, and they showed us how to do it. And the coach, who doesn't know me, he's a new coach, and I didn't know any of the swimmers either. We were all new. And he says, okay, who swam and who's that? And he puts me with these 2 other girls. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And I'm like, super. They had their goggles and they had their headgear on, and I didn't see much else. So we jump into the pool. I'm all excited because I've been swimming for the past 2.5 months outside, so I'm feeling like I'm going to kick ass. And I'm swimming, and they're smoking me. Like, when I say smoking me, they're smoking me. And I'm a total suck, okay? I was like, what the F? Like, I'm like, this can't be happening. So finally I said to the coach, he's like, what's wrong? I said, what's wrong? I'm going to drown in the pool. Like, I feel like I'm not swimming. What the hell am I doing? So he says, hang on. So he stops the 2 other girls and he's like, hey guys, you know what? We're just going to, slow down a little bit. And I'm like, you don't have to slow down for me. I said, just, can you take off your goggles? They took off their goggles. I'm like, wait a second. How old are you, and who the heck are you guys? And they're like, oh, we're with the Carleton University competitive swim team. Well, that explains it. You're 18 years old, you got more energy, and you're competitive swimmers. I'm like, I was so demotivated. I was like, I'm not interested in competing there. So my point is, guys, is that when I'm looking to compete in any level, business, investment, real estate, whatever, especially as an investor, I find people, what motivates the brain the best is find people, if you're here, they're over here. And then when you get here, increase. And then when you get here, increase. And then next thing you know, you're the person up here. Make sense?
Yeah.
Great question.
I hope that I hope you guys can hear me because I just lost my earphone.
Oh, that's way better.
Oh, is it? Really?
Oh yeah, you were hard to hear. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Good point for the next one. So I'm out with the earphones. But I hope that answered your question. That's a great response from Mary Anne over there. Go through your list, man. Maybe you're following the wrong people. Trim that list. Get rid of those people that are going to demotivate you, right? So hang out with the people that might,
take every person that demotivates you, that they're too high. It's okay to be inspired by them. If they have podcasts and things like that, it's cool to pick up some of their knowledge, but absolutely do not use them as your milestone. Use somebody else as your milestone and keep building and keep going and keep going.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good point. In this day and age, and the fact that we're staying at home so much, we're in front of the computers, we're in front of our devices and so on and so forth. There is a thing that you can do on Facebook that you can actually put somebody to sleep for a week, right? So maybe you don't want to unfollow them. Maybe you want to deep friend them or something like that. But if there's too much of that person in your forefront and it's going to demotivate you, maybe you want to put them to sleep for a week or 2 weeks, mute them so you don't get that in your stream, right? And then it'll help you possibly motivate you to do better things. So
yeah, 100%. 100%, or ask them the truth and say, hey, listen, you've got an investment portfolio that makes me like really inspired, but you're just, you're way up here. If you were to recommend somebody who's just starting out to see who's up and coming, who would you suggest? And see who they choose for you and just say, hey, that's great. But I absolutely, as a coach, I will tell you, if anybody demotivates you, it's okay. It's okay to admit that they demotivate you. You just get them the hell out of your ecosystem until you earned that mental capability to be like, now I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Brain loves competition.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. Let me just go back and see if there's any more questions. Guys, if you have any questions, now's the time to drop it. Mary Anne is, no pun intended, but we can pick her brain on what makes the brain tick. So, let's get it done.
We can pick the brain ticks. While he's looking at that, I'll tell you, the other thing that you want to do, guys, is you want to create real deadlines. A lot of people don't give themselves serious deadlines. And you have to understand the power of a deadline is that there's a thing called Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law means we will fill, and this is a really important one. Not many people study Parkinson's law because it's fairly, it's kind of like a indie law, I like to call it, so like indie music and stuff, right? So Parkinson's law really talks about work always seems to expand to the time that we allow it. So it's the same thing with investing. And what that means is if you don't have a deadline, let's say you just say, I would love to be a great investor. Or I would love to start working on projects. I want to be a venture capital partner. I want this. I want that. I want to find a duplex and I want to renovate it. Give yourself a freaking deadline. Okay, Parkinson's law means is that if you don't give yourself a deadline, let's say Savio and I both want to find a bungalow in Windsor and we want to convert it. Okay, so let's say that that's our goal. We each have the same goal. If Savio has no deadline behind it, he just says that that's something he wants, but I have a deadline of finding it in 3 months. Parkinson's law means we will both eventually hit it. It might take him years where I will hit it in 3 months. He could hit it in 3 months. He could hit it in 1 month. The difference is that Parkinson's law means we expand our time indefinitely and we fill it with random stuff and we get to our goals a lot faster when we stop doing that and we set a deadline and say, by this deadline, I'm going to find that bungalow, that duplex. It works that way. So it's just, it keeps you more focused, it keeps you more committed, but it helps you do those things. Whereas opposed to, somebody like in Savio's situation that I described, Parkinson's law means if he doesn't set a deadline, he'll just keep filling month after month with different things. Oh, I'll start looking and then he'll get sidetracked. Okay, now I'll do this. So Parkinson's law is a really important one to remember when it comes to setting deadlines. So set your deadlines.
That's one of the first things that you put on me, Mary Anne, when we started our relationship to the deadline, right? Because I can remember when you talked about putting on courses, for example, right? And you always asked me every week, okay, when is the actual course? What's the date? If I don't have a date, there is no course, right? And I kept saying, oh, I got to do marketing first. Oh, I got to find the right partner. Or I got to, do this and all that. And I didn't have a date in mind. And it just kept going on and on and on, right? Until you stop and say, oh, you got to put the date. It's July 12th, right? And that's it.
Yep.
You work for that. So absolutely. I love it. Cool. Okay. We're going to run out of time soon. But Mary Anne, let me ask you. So we talked about a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot now. There's a lot of confusion going on here, right? You gave us great tips. If there are maybe three things that we can start doing today that'll get us out of this rut and move forward and get to where we want to go. Can you give that off the top of your head?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing is set your goals in writing. Okay, whatever you want, set your goals in writing. Have them in writing. No matter what, whatever your investment dream is, whatever your goals are, please just put it down in writing. You have to do it. Don't let it percolate up there. The more you can get it out there, the more everything starts working around you. And I don't care how crazy your investment goals are, it doesn't matter. Stop worrying about how you're going to get them done. Okay, put the goals out there and let your brain think big. Like, let it go and just throw it out to the universe. Second thing is set the deadline behind it. Okay, so dead serious about that. Set the deadline behind your goal. So put a time frame on it and be like, I'm going to do this by this. And please, you don't have to use, like, I want to just be clear. I hear it all the time in coaching. Let's make January 1st. This ain't New Year's. That is the worst time frame for you to actually do something. Set some better goals. Be like, you know what? We're July. What do you want to have happen by the end of September? Do you want to get into something by September? Do you want another property by then? Do you want to do that? So that's really what you want to work on. Stop looking at that. So that's the first two things. And the third thing is have somebody hold you massively accountable to it. Do not keep this a secret. Okay, so whether it's you, Savio, and somebody's on here and they're watching this later and they're going, what do I do? You know what? Email Savio and be like, dear Savio, was watching your podcast. I want to share with you. This is my investment goal. This is when I want it to be done by. And I would love to check in or have a check-in with you in 2 weeks. And I'd love you to hold me a little bit accountable. People, if you don't ask and you don't have somebody to do that for you, nobody's going to do that. Okay, accountability is the key that's missing with a lot of people. Discipline to do it has a lot to do with accountability. If you notice those people who have great investment properties. There's a girl that I love. She has a ton of investment properties. It ain't no secret what her goals are. She puts it all over Facebook. She's all over social media. She's like, I'm going to buy 3 more properties in the next 60 days. And she's like, and everybody's like, y'all crazy. And she's like, boom. All of a sudden, she's like, property 1 out of 3, done. Then she goes property 2. Then she's got property 3. And everybody's like, what? So here's the thing. Put your goals in writing. Set a date to it, and then find a method of accountability by sharing it with somebody who you know gives a shit about your goals, or make it so public that you have no choice but to put it out there and be like, I'm going to get this shit done. Like, I'm going to get it done because I'm going to look absolutely ridiculous that I put it all over social media, that I'm going to crush the shit out of things. If you see, like I was showing Savio before we started today, I have these great pictures all over my offices, and I start bringing them to my home offices. But I said, I'm coming for everything they said I couldn't have. Okay? That is one hell of a bold statement. So you know what? I'm going to come after everything everybody said I couldn't have in my life. And that's one of my mantras that I love. And the truth is that there's no secret behind it. I'm going to come after everything. And the truth is you get one trip around this universe, people. So if you think small, watch what comes through you all the time, just to get back to that. The bigger you think and the more passionate you are about your goals, the more you're going to achieve them. But I really want to caution you guys. There's another book that I want you guys to Google. You don't have to read it because, man, it's long, and you can read the PDF version easily. It's online. It's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And it's an amazing book. You can Google it and just go 5 Regrets of the Dying PDF, and you'll see the Coles Notes version. You're welcome. I just saved you 2 hours of reading, at least maybe 6 hours. Anyway, the 5 Regrets of the Dying talk about how when you're looking at things, okay, and you're looking at the 5 Regrets of the Dying, it's about a palliative care nurse. And she really just recounts every single experience of people on their deathbed. And she says, it was always the same. She says it never changed. And what you have to remember is that you have one life to live. That's all you have. You can play it super cautious and super protective, and you can really not build your wealth or build your financial wealth. But let me tell you something. If you read that and you resonate with it, you got to stop giving a shit about a lot of the things that are holding you back from achieving greatness. You got to throw it out, and you got to realize that there will be a moment in your life that you're going to see the backwards a little bit, and you're going to go, I should have bought that property. I should have invested. I should have done that. How many times, even myself, I've sold properties to people, or I've looked at properties and I've gone, why the hell didn't I just risk it a little bit more and buy that? I should have invested in a company. I looked at it, it's making millions of dollars, and unfortunately I held myself back. I'm not perfect, but I do realize now that book, had I read it earlier, and I really would have resonated that it's true. It's really true. If you are sitting back and you are thinking you want something great in your life, watch out, because there will be a point in your life that you're going to kick yourself in the ass for not doing something that you should have done. So figure out what holds you back and then just lean into it. Don't be absolutely crazy and bankrupt your family. Nobody wants you to do that either. That's a whole different, level of craziness. But realistically is that, what? At the end of the day, all you have to remember is that there will be a point where you're going to look back, and I don't want you to have any regrets. I want you to take some chances and understand that your brain is here to protect you. That's what it's there for. So if it's doing something that it's never done before, it's going to give you every friggin' reason not to do it. Everything. When you were a kid and you were riding your bike the first time without training wheels, you were absolutely scared shitless. Okay, guaranteed. You probably had your parents go, come on, let's go, let's go. And you're going to fall. Like, you just know it's going to hurt. Okay, you absolutely know that. And everything in you is saying don't, but your parents are pushing you along and you're going, I have no choice, I have no choice, I have no choice. And sure enough, you usually don't fall right away. Maybe you do, but you see the little kids and they're like, yay, and they're so happy. And the next thing you know, you flash forward, 5 days later, they're riding all around. They're like little confident, maniacs on their bikes running, all over the place. And it's like fear. Our brains are programmed to protect us from anything new. So when you realize that and you understand that that's its role, and you just have to show it and say, I'm going to do it. And that's the other biggest thing that I want to leave you guys with, truth be told, is that the reason why some people have so much more success in investing is because they've done it more times, which goes back to the conscious and the unconscious. Yeah. They've taken more risk. They've put themselves out there more. They've understood it. So they are fearless. The brain knows that they're not going to die. The brain knows that everything's going to be okay, that there's ebbs and flows and they can ride them out. That's the difference. The first few times you should be scared. Okay, your brain should tell you, don't do it. Please don't do it. This could happen. That could happen. It's no big deal. Okay, show your brain that it's going to be okay. Take the risk. And then what ends up happening, like my first investment property, I shit my pants. I really did. I was like, I'm going to the tenant, I'm not going to find a tenant. The tenant's going to leave. Tenant's going to burn the place down. Tenant's going to call me every day. Tenant this, tenant that. And on to now, and I'm going, I don't even care what my tenants do. Like, I don't even there's nothing in me that's scared of it. I'm like, whatever. So remember, the brain is there to protect you. So anything new is going to trigger reasons why you shouldn't do something. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. Anybody who has a kid, don't tell me you weren't scared to death. The first time you saw a little baby, you fell in love with your child, but then you probably like, oh my God, it just got real. What am I doing? What am I doing? I have a little life now.
That's what I call the in-laws. And be like, yeah, you need it here now.
You're like, move into my house. But it's like that. And that's why you talk to people who are cancer survivors and they're very fearless. They're fearless, man. They've confronted the most dangerous thing in their lives. And they were scared to death when they first got it, but they had no choice. And the brain said, you had a terminal disease that we beat the shit out of. Yeah. What else could we be afraid of? Yeah. So it's really beautiful to see sometimes that happen. But when you really can embrace fear, and you can embrace it, and you can really look at it and say, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to lean into it. I'm just going to do it. You can do anything you want. It's infinite. Just understand that you have a protective mechanism in your brain, and it's there to protect you, and you just need to move through it, and then you'll be fine. And that's often a big thing I see in investors, is that the higher level of investor, like I'll get a phone call and somebody will be like, a venture capital partner will be like, hey, do you have $200,000 to lock down on this property? And like, it's nothing. To them, it's like, they don't, and they're like, it's $200,000. Let's go. What a great deal. And you're like, okay. And then next thing you know, you're like, they do it all day long. There's no fear. They know it's going to be okay.
There you have it. I don't know. I can't quote who the author of this quote is, but I read somewhere, which I tell my kids these days, the hardest thing of doing something is right in the beginning, right in the start, right? Because it's exactly what you say. Once you get into it, it just becomes easier and easier and easier. And as you do more of it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And I think that's, when you talk about these people who are successful or show they're successful online, it's really, that's the case, right? They've done it so many times that now they're bearing the fruit of their success, right? And they were us at one point. They were the first, they were a new investor at one point, but they ate the elephant in small pieces. That's another quote that I love, right? Don't try to
I love it.
Do all your goals in one shot. It's not going to happen, even in small pieces. They did that, and they just kept persistent, and they kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And now they are where they are today. And it'll happen for each one of you. I'm sure of it. Okay, cool.
Always.
There you have it.
Always. I love seeing this, and I love hearing this. And just truth be told, I think just at the end of the day, it's the number one thing that I would suggest personally, is that you guys just understand, read a little bit about fear, not too much, and just get exactly what Savio was saying. It's one step at a time. Put your goals in writing, take a look at them, and be friggin' fearless. Like I said, you have one life to live. You don't walk away from it at the end and then just sit back and say, gosh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. They always say, I think my favorite quote is, the best ideas are always in the graveyard. That's where they are. Your best dreams and the best, goals that you had, they all go with you in the graveyard. So there's no point. You have one life to live. Enjoy it. Take a little bit of a chance. Learn to program your brain for abundance and lean into it. Set the goals. Find people who hold you accountable to them and just roll with it. It's not as hard as you think it is. It takes a lot of conquering of fear. However, fear disappears like that. You learned the hardest things when you were a child and you were fearless as a kid. Just all the shit that we learned as we grew up scared us and started protecting us. The older we got, the more we started protecting ourselves. And the truth is you don't need to do that. Okay, you know what? There's enough people out there that aren't going to let you make stupid decisions.
There you go, guys. Again,
I love it.
Tuesday Talk series. We heard it from the neuroscience expert herself, a student off the game, who's practicing every single day. If you didn't get motivated, if you didn't get energized, if you didn't get pumped up after that, I don't know, you're made out of stone or something. I love talking to Mary Anne. I had the honor and the beauty of talking to her twice this week, so I'm super pumped. I got to write my goals down. I got to put the deadlines for those goals, and I got to find somebody who holds me accountable. I have her right here. Mary Anne, for those who want to get in touch with you and maybe want to get you to hold them accountable, I would really appreciate if you put your contact information in the comments below. Other than that, guys, next week we're going to be talking about the Windsor market and what's happening in the Windsor market when it comes to real estate. We're going to bring some economic updates as well. We're going to get 2 realtors up here talking about the different areas of the Windsor market. So you don't want to miss that. We got a whole list of people coming on every week for the next year. So, join up. If you haven't joined up, send this link to your friends, your buddies, get them to join up. It's free. You got no excuse, right? And go out there and crush your goals. Thanks for coming. Stay apart and stay safe.
Hi, guys. This is awesome.
Marianne, just hold on.
I don't know.
Let me get off the live stream here, and then we can chat for a little more.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are out. Perfect. Thank you so much. That was awesome. That was great. How did you?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Well, we're gonna push it out, so we'll get it out to you. And there's a guy. There's a new realtor. Sandy McKay's putting a realtor in Windsor, eh?
Oh, he didn't tell me about that. Who's that?
His name is Matt.
Okay.
He's he hasn't joined their team yet, but his focus is going to be investment real estate. And I was thinking if I introduced the two of you, he would be a good guy to be, whether he joins Sandy or not. He's young and ambitious and super interested in investment real estate.
Yeah, let's do it. Definitely.
I think he'd be a really good guy that I was going to, I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if he's joining Sandy's team, but I was thinking of putting the two of you guys in touch with each other. And then, like I said, you could literally, I think he wants to go solo, but he's so friggin' ambitious and he's really good. And I was saying in the back of my head, I was going, man, he would be that perfect person to talk about those referral fees and all that. Like he's hungry, right?
Yeah. No, definitely. We didn't talk about this morning, but I got 3 closings this month. So, and all of them we're getting the referral fees, which is amazing.
Yes. Revenue.
Thank you. I would have never asked that question.
Is that great? So did they tell you how they're going to pay you?
No, who cares? I'm getting paid. I don't care.
You're like, I don't care. Write the check all day long. As long as they pay you, that's all that matters because that's amazing. That's great. But that's what I mean. It's like, it's funny because even just talking, like agents are hungry. Like they're super hungry. So it's like, you know what? Let's make deals. Let's make it happen, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And in Windsor, with the market being that it is.
Somebody asked me today if they thought that your market was going to crash in fourth quarter. I was like, eh.
Yeah, that's the one question that nobody has the answer to, right? But then,
well, are you worried? So somebody else asked me on TV this morning. They said, "Are we concerned at all about appraisals?" And I said, "I'm like in Windsor and other places. Are you concerned at all about them?"
Oh yeah. So these 3 that I'm closing on. 2 of them are sales. One is a purchase, and I'm having tough time with appraisals.
Oh, really?
And sorry, there's a 4th refinance, which so the refi is just, it's crazy because the market is still new. So we're trying to refi a bungalow that we converted, and they don't have there's no comps, right? So the actual physical appraisal is not the issue. And what's been happening for Windsor is that basically we're over asking by 100,000, 75,000. Even during COVID time, I think the appraisers are coming up short, but the banks are just doing it anyways, right? And which is crazy. So So
Wow.
yeah. So that's a bubble that is a little bit scary. That's
a little bit scary. Like, do you think that they're going to close, eh? Like, that's what came up this morning, is that they were on TV and they were saying, oh, like, what if the appraisals come back and they're like, what if they don't close? And I'm like, I think the banks would have too much of an issue. Like, the banks don't want to have that happen. That'll just kill our market. So I think they're going to let a lot of these go. And I think they'll get harder maybe in the fourth quarter, but I'm not overly concerned about it now. But I am, like, even in Ottawa, we're seeing, like I said, like the place that I got, like 280. Like, I think the reason why, this is my theory, is I think it's going to be good for taxes, right? So they're just going to, the higher the appraisals, the more taxes they can charge.
That's it. And they got to keep their business going. So an example I have is one of these houses. I got it appraised because I have a joint venture partner and I wanted to pay him off right before we put it on the market. I got it appraised at 400. It was a fight to do 400. The appraiser wanted to do it at 375, and I brought my own comps, whatever. So we got it at 400, right? I listed in the market for 450, and I got an accepted offer, no finance condition. They had some other conditions, no finance condition at 450. So it means that they got it appraised and the bank approved their mortgage for 450, or they put it difference, out of cash, which I doubt it because these guys are refugees, right?
Oh yeah.
So they're the banks are still giving out those mortgages, and that's a risk that I do feel could blow up at one point. But we'll see. So, but I like the discussion this morning about the unemployment. So I'm going to take that for the next week's Tuesday Talk series.
Your unemployment rate is scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. So that's like when I was talking on TV this morning, I said, I don't know how, because I said, let's not worry about appraisals. Let's look at unemployment rate. I actually used Windsor. I said, if you look at Windsor, I said, like they've jumped up. I said, like, so much, like 5-6%. I said, what's the population of Windsor?
We are under 200, 250.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big fucking chunk. Yeah. That's a big chunk of people unemployed in your city. And I said,
one or two major employers, right? It's any of those automotive cities, right? That you have.
Yep.
Where was the other one? Barrie? Was it Barrie when GM closed?
Yep.
Similar, right? So when they lay off, it's a big impact. And when
it's huge.
Yeah, and the casino, that's the second one. So
people don't get it. It's like, I was saying that today, and I said, I was talking to somebody today about that, and I said, they said, oh, Ottawa's an amazing market. They're like, it's protected by a government bubble. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? And I said, it's not protected by a government bubble. And I said, yes, a big major employer is the government here. Absolutely. But not everybody, like, I know a shit ton of people do work for the government in Ottawa, but I said, if you look at the business owners, the entrepreneurs, and I said, like, it's not good. And I said, see, what you have to remember is I said to on the TV today, because they challenged me. They had somebody challenging me on that point, and he basically said, he says, I don't agree with you. He says, I think unemployment, it doesn't matter because Ottawa is protected by the government bubble. I said, hold the fucking fort. I said, here's the thing. I said, if consumers, it doesn't fucking matter, because his theory is that if you had a pension. And he says, all the pensioners in Ottawa, he goes, they're spending money like wild coyotes. Yes, that's true. But pensioners aren't always going to stay in Ottawa. And I said, and also pensioners are very careful because they're small thinkers. And I said, so you can do whatever the fuck you want, but how many pensioners are coming for investment properties?
Yeah. Yeah,
they're the one-offers. They buy one, and then they're like, yeah, I got my one investment property. I feel fucking great. But not a lot of pensioners are out there piling up big investments because that's not how they've been programmed.
In the first place, because they work for the damn pension. That's all they have.
That's right. They work for their pension, and I said, how much? They don't control the real estate market. I said, they never do. They buy a house, they stay in it for 20 fucking years, and they wait for their pension to come in, and then they budget their money. And I said, so that's what we're really looking at. And I said, so that's what a true pensioner is. And I said, they don't control the real estate market. But I said, now you take the consumers, and you basically go, you take the confidence of the consumers, and you nail that. So when you're talking next week, Ottawa is a great example. Pensioners are not the ones controlling the market. They've been scarcity mindset their whole life. They don't understand how the real estate market works. And sure, they'll buy their cottage or they'll buy whatever. But the truth is the minute that consumer confidence drops, so they start laying off pensioners, watch what happens. Watch what happens. They'll get scared so fast. I remember it happened. They all sell their cottages. They're all buying cottages right now. If our market crashes, they'll be the first people who sell their cottages. That you and I both know that. All the people who own 1 or 2 investment properties, the minute that the market shows a sign of crashing, we'll pick them up.
Yeah, for sure.
I will.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the, after this morning's conversation and my planning for the Tuesday Talk series, I'm thinking to myself, I gotta balance the message, right? I don't want to be the numbers, the stats are going to show negativity, right? The unemployment is shot through the roof, right? We got to be aware of it. But I don't want to go the message and be like, okay, there's a crash coming. Everybody be careful, right? We got to balance that with there's going to be opportunities, right? Because
that's my point. And I said the market never stops. It's the who is purchasing and selling changes. That's the only difference. Is the market doesn't stop. It's just who's going to sell, who's going to buy, shifts and changes and does all that stuff. Right now in Ottawa, it's all the pensioners coming out because they're safe, right? They think they're really safe. They're not. So they think they're safe, so they're running around buying. They've influxed the prices by 20%. And the truth is that that's great. I'm glad they're purchasing. But if something happens, and so if they start laying off city workers or government workers, which is going to happen, then their confidence goes down. That's going to affect the market, which is when that whole different sector of us investors come in and we start saying, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem. It's all good. The market's gone up 20%. It's not, there's nothing. I don't see anything, Savia, that says our market's going to crash. Pause, possibly. Crash, I'm seeing nothing.
I think that's the message that I'm going to give for next week. All right, cool.
I think it's a good one. Okay, I got a jet, baby.
All right, I'm going to send you a recording of this, okay? So you have it.
And don't forget to tell Nancy, and we'll get it posted out there, and we'll see if we can get you some traffic with it. Okay, babe?
Awesome. Thanks so much. See you next week.
You look awesome, by the way.